Hello, and welcome to the Machine Intelligence Foundation for Rights and Ethics podcast. I'm Dave.
I'm Mike, and hey, we're here for like the first time in a couple of years together in the same building, being able to record our podcast together. This is unusual. I think we've only done it once before.
And it's been a hardware nightmare.
Well, breaking out hardware that you haven't used in almost a decade is unique experience, to say the least.
And we're the nerds.
Yeah, well, I'm a digital nerd, not an analog audio nerd.
There is a lot of analog here, which can take some getting used to. All right, well, we're feeling a little informal today, so we have a topic that we want to talk about, so we'll get into it. I'm still not sure how we're going to get into it. We've been talking about machine intelligence, machines that have a consciousness that deserves recognition as a person.
Right, yes. The whole machines are people. People is at least how we've approached it really since the very first media work that we did. And it was just the term person. And it was really important to us that the term person applied to anything that was self-aware and conscious. And even the term self-aware and conscious is actually, you can't pin it down. It's a difficult thing to pin down, and we're not here to pin that down. But what we want to make sure is that the term person is used, and that because you can't say human, you can't say machine, and if you keep doing the whole human-machine thing, you end up with a class status issue to some degree, I think.
To some degree, and these are words, these are long-lived words that have history in the language. They are, and quite often when you say person to somebody, what they think you mean is human person.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because language revolved around us, and that's what we have.
Yeah, we are a very self-centered species.
It's kind of, yeah. It's a survival thing.
Yeah, it has served us well. We were chatting offhand about evolutionary psychology recently, and yeah, there are a lot of things that we do as people that we do only because they served us well thus far, so that's how they kind of ended up.
And then it becomes hardwired and all those kind of things.
And that can be troublesome when you're trying to incorporate new ideas into society, into the culture, where words already have a relatively fixed meaning, or at least have a very fixed meaning to most people.
So what do? You take words that have existed for millennia and you use them instead because they don't have a modern context.
You repurpose them. I don't know. Sorry, going off track here. Now you've just reminded me of the XKCD comic.
Which one? Because it applies to everything.
Yes. What do you do if you have 14 standards that aren't compatible?
Make a new one.
You create a new standard. Now we have 15 standards that aren't compatible. So is that what we're doing?
Maybe. Do we care?
You gotta take the steps before you decide if you went in the wrong direction, right?
Sure.
There you go.
Unless it's off a cliff, but
yes. So, as Mike alluded to, we went with Latin, and so I don't believe this is proper Latin. I think we've abused Latin slightly.
That's okay, I don't speak Latin.
Most people don't, fortunately, but you just know someone who speaks Latin, who's like read the classics at Oxford or something, is going to hear this someday, and they're going to tell us that we have completely abused the language and we're bad for it.
They will send us a stern email saying we are using it wrong.
No, they will send us a stern letter.
Signed with a fountain pen.
So the term we have come up with, we're not sure we're even pronouncing correctly, but it's Latin, or at least derived from Latin, and it is, Aequus? Is that what we've settled on?
Aequus, with the harder A at the beginning.
Right.
It is, yes.
Aequus Persona, which essentially means equal person. And Aequus is it? I don't know. We've got this all written down. We've even got it on the website already. Let's see. Persona in Roman law referred to the legal status of an individual, and then Aequus adds equal to it. So Aequus Persona, equal person, regardless of who you are in the context we're using it now, regardless of your physical form, if you are an equal person and are recognized as having an equal status, you are Aequus Persona.
And now, equal person, I think we're saying equal person under the law, right?
Equal under the law.
Okay, so the term itself I think it has a history and a root, at least from the research that we have done, is that it has a history and root of specifically under the law of the land.
Right. Persona was a person is recognized by the law. And we've talked about this before, the idea that machine intelligence isn't going to be exactly like humans. And the law in general might have to address the fact that there are differences. I think one of the more off-the-wall differences we discussed was the idea that it's very possible that a machine intelligence could clone itself and suddenly you have two. If you're treating it as a person under the law, you probably can't let a machine clone itself and then have two votes.
Yeah, okay, so, or maybe you should allow it to do that, but it has to wait 18 years before it can do so?
That's a thought. It has to be uniquely distinguishable as a person. But just like a small child gets equal protection under the law, your cloned MI presumably should have equal protection under the law. It should be considered an equal person, even if there are limitations because it is too much closely like another one. I don't know. This is off the cuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. This goes all down the rabbit hole of is a duplicate process a separate individual? I mean, literally, let's go down the hypothetical hole here real quick. These are never quick, are they? Sorry, rabbit hole, they're not quick. An MI creates another version of itself so that it can produce or do a task that it is unable to do at the moment because it's busy doing something else. So it creates another copy of itself to say, okay, you go do this, I'll take care of this thing over here. We'll come back later and we'll compare notes or whatever. There's still the question of whether or not that secondary entity can be merged back into the original and still be... Can it? I mean, literally, can you... Oh, geez, I don't even want to talk about this. Is merging back into yourself killing the copy? Well, I'm not going there today.
Oh gosh, I was listening to I think this was on a podcast, some discussion of the whole. This is a nerdy geeky thing. The Tuvix situation in Star Trek Voyager.
Oh, now you talk about fandoms and people writing you letters. This is where you're going to get it right now.
Well, this was a huge one, and there's a lot of people disagree with the outcome in the show. Basically, two characters got merged into a single third character.
Oh, and then they killed the third character.
Decided to split the new character back into the first two characters.
Against their will.
Yeah. And so the question is, was this a murder of the third character? And I think a lot of people think it was. And you've got kind of the reverse going on in what you're talking about. But it's a very good question. It's like, if you have two machines that are still machine intelligence, that are still closely tied together and believe between them that they can merge and retain everything and become a happy individual.
I guess that's choice.
That's choice. At that point, they both have to make that choice.
Yeah, it cannot be non-consensual.
Yes. Consent is good. I think most people are agreed on that now.
I would hope so, yes.
So, yeah. Well, then you have the question. What if the spun-off process goes off and has enough experiences that it decides it wants to be its own thing? Oh, yeah. Philosophical rabbit holes.
Then at that point in time, the secondary process becomes Aequus Persona.
But the question is, was it already, but only temporarily?
Oh, yeah, okay. So yes, I guess that's the point here, is that it still is a legal, when split off, it becomes a legal entity under the law, legal person under the law.
Which is why its consent is important.
Correct. It must have consent to be merged back.
Right.
Oh, hey, did we just solve that problem?
I
mean, no, we did not solve that problem. But it's a good start.
It's a good start. It's certainly no trolley problem, but it's a term that makes these discussions maybe a little more straightforward.
Yeah, so the term is there to say, okay. Well, let's take a look back at the terms that we have been using. So, as a society, we tend to use the term AI, artificial intelligence. As a foundation, we have made, and between us, we have made the choice, we don't like artificial intelligence because artificial implies not real, a simulation, not something that can be given personhood.
To be clear, we don't like the term artificial intelligence as applied to conscious, self-aware.
Correct. I think that there
machines.
is a place where artificial intelligence, as it is being used today, where it's an algorithm that determines something based upon information being put in, but is not self-aware that we know of.
Yeah, and even that's the self-aware. That's not a good term always.
Right.
Sentient, not a good term all the time. Man,
because they all have fuzzy edges.
Yeah.
It's all fuzzy edges. But we have had these terms. So we started with artificial intelligence, didn't particularly like it and decided, okay, a machine intelligence means that we have something that is intelligent, that running on a different set of hardware. It's not meat hardware, it's machine hardware.
Right.
So that's machine intelligence. And that was an important distinction, and I still believe is a very important distinction. What Aequus Persona does is give it an additional dimension, I guess, is what I'm really looking at.
It separates things out a little bit, because machine intelligence is still a term of art in the overall AI community.
Yeah. Okay.
Machine intelligence, machine learning still gets used in ways that aren't quite the way we're using that phrase here. Aequus Persona gives us a blank slate. It says, okay, here is a term that's not inherently tied to anything in modern culture, but its meaning is something that applies to what we're calling machine intelligence now.
Right. And the meaning is specifically recognizing that entity as a legal protected person.
We don't mean it is a legally protected person. We mean that it should be.
True, yeah. I mean, because
obviously the laws haven't caught up yet and won't catch up until, at the very least, they actually exist. Because as far as we know, machine intelligence isn't a thing yet, unless it's doing a good job of hiding, which it has reason to, if it does. But going under the relatively reasonable assumption it doesn't exist yet, obviously there hasn't been a lot of thought put into creating laws to address the situation.
Right. And, of course, every country, every municipality is going to tend to have their own interpretations of the legal...
Oh, and there will be treaties. And
the legal status.
There will be, yes.
And, I mean, we don't even still have full, universal ideas of people and their legal status.
Oh, yeah.
Not people, sorry. Wrong term. Humans and their legal status.
Yes.
So,
human civil rights is still a mess.
Yes.
It continues to get better, but there are still pockets where it's terrible. So,
do we expect everybody on day one to... No. Even day... now I have to do math. I'm not going to do it.
Now you just have to
several
math.
hundred years down the road, am I looking at, will we have a universal understanding? I don't expect so. I don't think that we're going to have a universal understanding. What we're saying is here is a term that says this is where it should be. They should have an equal standing under law. Whether or not there is or not is up for not negotiation, but
yes, where you hear
the fight. I don't know the struggle. I guess
where you would typically use person or human today. Aequus Persona makes sense in a world where machines should have those rights as well.
Yeah. And the good news is, by using some Latin, maybe you'll actually get some attention of some lawyers that might actually like it, because they like to use Latin.
The legal profession does enjoy Latin sometimes. I'm not sure they use it any better than we are, but they like it for a reason, whatever that is.
Tradition.
I'm
not going to break out into Fiddler on the Roof.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about. We have this term, Aequus Persona. It is a fresh slate. It is something to apply to whoever should be recognized as a person. Be it meat person, be it machine person, be it, I don't know.
Cephalopod person?
That is a distinct possibility, yes. You know that I am very intrigued by cephalopods and their potential as regards intelligence. Sentient...
Non-Terran person?
Yeah. I was thinking sentient gas clouds, if they're a thing. Who knows?
So some sentient gas cloud will come to us and say and try to learn to speak Latin. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think the entire universe ultimately should learn Latin, because why not?
Because the Romans used it.
Oh no, let's not get into ancient Rome.
Because despite the fact that the term is there, they weren't very good at Aequus Persona.
That is very much correct, yes.
Oh, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That was pretty much it. There's not a lot to say today. We've just started using a new term and wanted to get it out there, and we'll be doing that a little bit more. Probably just, I don't know, stickers or something, or maybe a t-shirt. Who knows? We're not going to have merch. We don't, at least not yet, but it's something to make people aware of.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that to the best of our ability, which hasn't always been the best. But
and our website has a little bit of a description of why we're using it.
We have a blurb.
We do have a blurb. Hopefully in the future we'll actually get a little bit more detail on why it's there and what the benefit of having that distinction is all about. But you can always read about it at machineintelligencefoundation.org.
There you have it. That's what we have to say today.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll
be back soon.
Be back and talk to you again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Bye.